This is just kind of a story and a video about, you're leaving and reflecting on your time at Shalhevet as a whole.
Got it. Getting in trouble on my last interview. Okay.
So to start off, in the Boiling Point story from 2010, announcing that you'd be the new head of school, you mentioned that the reason you were interested in Shalhevet was because of its unique educational philosophy. So what do you think that philosophy was, and how do you think that your 10 years affected it?
I think it was genuinely thinking of education as student-centered in the sense that you're not just trying to give students content, you're trying to light a fire under them. And I know that's cliche, and there's some saying about that, like education is not filling a bucket, it's lighting a fire. For me, I think that was Shalhevet when I saw it. I think what I did was just take an idea that was a really amazing idea, but needed to be molded financially and righted. The ship needed to be righted financially, mission statement, religiously. There was so much that was, I think, not missing, but just needed more. That was the first, and then our building and our, that was part of the financial remodel, and we did that, and there was a whole new faculty in many ways on the Judaic side, and the new curriculum that was put together. There were so many different, I think, pieces. And then it was more about refining. So we started adding little programs here and there, scholar and residence programs, and, updating, different editions of the student support program. We went from one person when I was here originally. We have 4 or 5 people here. Mm-hmm. To me, I'm really proud of that. We added the Shalhevet Institute. The Boiling Point became the Jewish, we built a Jewish Scholastic Press Association. Not we, almost none of the things I'm describing to you, I did. I just tried to build an institution that allowed for that or incubated that, I would say.
So when going into your role as head of school, what were your short-term and long-term goals?
For me, for the first few years, my goal was to really define what the school stood for, what modern Orthodoxy meant, what the value was of giving students a voice, areas that I felt like we needed to expand our offerings from an educational and religious perspective. Even as an example, having girls sing in the choir. For me, it was always so strange to me because you had a school that, people were saying isn't following halacha, but the decision to not have them sing, I didn't think per se was following halacha either. It was just sort of okay, if that's what Orthodox schools do, we won't do, we want to have them sing. So I went and asked Shaila and discussed it with Poskim. And I was like, no, what? Yeah, we're expanding it. And at the same time, we were doing things that were more, that were considered more traditional in other directions, just in terms of kashrus and Shabbos. Not that people weren't eating kosher or Shabbos, but I really thought it was important to focus on that on school trips and outside the classroom and outside school, and keep it on the basketball court, and just lots of different changes. That was the short term and long term. The short term was stabilizing things and making it very clear what we stood for. Uh-huh. And then the longer term was incrementally improving and then passing the baton when the time was right. And the time was right. So.
Yeah. So what do you think of the condition of the Just community? Is there growth, or do you think there's a decline?
I think it's only improving in the sense that are there people in the school who don't feel they can be heard? That's my question of Just community. Sometimes students are the Just community is dead because we haven't had to vote on anything, we haven't written any proposals in it. And I'm right, primarily because you have an administration that is running things on time, where they're supposed to be. Often we try to judge things by how much more do we have? How many more proposals do we have? How many more, meetings do we have? How much bigger are things? And I think that's one way of seeing things. It's we need more happiness. We need more Just community.
Yeah.
But for me, the definition is, are there students who are feeling unseen and unheard and unjustly treated? And I think that's, I believe, less and less. That's my hope. I am proud that during my tenure, there was a new constitution and students re-articulated what the role was and tried to figure out again, how does town hall and Just community look different in 2021 than it did in 1995, I guess, or whatever that year is.
So within your time at Shalhevet, what do you think will be your most lasting legacy?
Nobody wants to be forgotten.
Uh.
Like, I'd like to be remembered as playing a great role in, some important role in the journey of Shalhevet. Your legacy is just that the thing you did continues on in a strong way because you contributed to it. So I hope that's the case.
Okay. What regrets, if any, do you have?
I think I lost my temper too many times. Should have realized that, that I needed just to breathe. Doesn't mean I need to leave, but
Yeah.
I got very, very, I got short fused. I was planning on being here for 3 years, I think, and then making Aliyah. I don't think we thought we'd be here for 10 years.
If you could think of one, when was the time where you saw the Shalhevet community at its best?
I remember when Steve Globerman passed away. Listen, I'm sure other communities would do this, but there was something so intuitive for everybody that, just school stopped. We took buses to the funeral. But what Shalhevet genuinely is we're a family. We're a real family. That's what we believe. We're all in. We're a real family. Mm-hmm. And, a parent passed away. Every student is, going to help out. The friends of the Globerman kid. It's just an example, meaning I don't mean that that's more significant than other situations, but it's this is what Shalhevet does.
What would you like to see next for Shalhevet? Or what do you think the community should be working toward in the future?
I got nothing. I think affordability as a long-term or as a mid-term thing is important. But that's just, LA is so expensive to live, so it's not necessarily on the school. And people are always just cut the tuition. I'm okay, well, where are the teachers going to live?
So what are you planning to do next?
I don't know yet. I have a few different ideas. One of which is not a Shalhevet. People are always are we starting Shalhevet school in Israel? I'm no. But I'd like to replicate the conversations here that we have, the way we talk about things, the way we dialogue, the way we listen, in a bigger setting, in something more international that shows that what we did here and what we do here is needed and replicable and scalable for the world. So I don't know what that means yet. I'm talking with different people. I'd like to do something like that. I don't know. I'd love to find a foundation that needs a head to give out lots of money to things that matter. So we'll see. I don't know.
Okay. So what will you miss most about the Shalhevet community and Shalhevet as a whole?
We just love this. We love coming to work every day. I hope the next job I find has the same thing. And I'm helping Rabbi block out for the next 2 years, but I'm going to be here once a month for a few days. It's just different. It's different. Right. Being on Zoom, you don't get the same energy that you get when you're on. I used to, when I started my first 6 or 7 years, I used to welcome students every morning outside. I loved that. I have no worry. You're in very good hands, not just Rabbi Blocks, just lots of great leaders, teachers. Just keep being very authentic to what Shalhevet is.